So I'd like to invite up the project team who will actually be leading the constituent parts of this. Ondrej Sramek from the Czech GBC, who will be leading the first phase of the project. Sebastiano Cristoforetti from GBC Italia, who's leading our second phase. Pat Barry of the Irish GBC. Thanks, Pat, if you could come up here for the third stage. And Bengt Wanggren, our innovator from the Swedish GBC. And just to give you a bit of each part of the project team, if you could come over here, we'll be talking just through a little bit how this thing is structured. But it is a process to design a process right now. We want to drive a very large multi-stakeholder process, consensus building process. So crucially, there is buy-in across a large number of stakeholder groups to actually drive national renovation strategies, because a strategy is an empty document until it has buy-in. So we're mapping the existing landscape this 6 months. That's what we're doing. We're designing a large process to take people through this, and we're launching that process through our second year. As I said, 2-year deadline, 30th of April 2017. That's the deadline for version 2 of these strategies. So I'm going to hand over now to Ondrej, the first member of our project team, to talk a little bit about the first 6 months. That's what we're in now.
Thanks, James. Hi everyone. I'll just go quickly through the phase 1. Well, as you see, or as you saw on the, let me see, on this previous chart, which shows how the project will unfold. So the phase 1 is a preparatory phase. It's got to prepare and plan so that we can then execute the other phases intelligently. So we need to set ground for the following phases, and it's essentially about 3 things. It's about stakeholders, it's about initiatives, and it's about barriers. And I mean, I think I don't have to go into too much detail. These are things that are well understood. There are barriers to renovation. That's why renovation is not happening at such scale that we would like all to be happening. Those barriers need to be removed with some initiatives, and stakeholders are those who can actually enact those initiatives. And if we want to change the system, we really need to understand how, these 3 things are already at play. And it's critical that we develop a good understanding of that so that we can be successful in the following phases. So one of the first things that we need to do, obviously, is stakeholder mapping. It's a complex system of stakeholders that we're entering. We realize that. We already have a lot of you here, and we consider you all stakeholders, but there are many more. And I think it's important that we realize that we can't change the world alone. It's a complex system, and what we can hope to achieve is just steer and steward and help the system maybe to change a bit, and then the system can change the world. And so if we want to do that, we really need to understand who's already out there doing what, and so that'll be the first part of the phase 1, understanding the stakeholder landscape. The initiatives mapping, again, I mean, there's tons of initiatives already. It's not like we're starting something new. I mean, everybody knows that, okay, renovation is not happening. Let's try to do something about it. And we've been trying to do something about it for many years, and it's still not happening at such pace that we would like. So it's again, it's not, and there are databases of initiatives across countries, and it's easy to drown in it. It's just an ocean of knowledge which is already accumulated. And I think what we realize, one of the key challenges of this project is, it's not that there is too little information, there's too much. And it's how do you identify the needles in the haystack? How do you identify what are the good initiatives, why they're good, what were the success factors, and could that be replicated into other countries? It's about understanding, I already tried 10 times to do this, if I'm gonna do it for 11th time, it will fail again, maybe I should try to do something else. And so again, and that's why the project is built upon, it's building upon the existing knowledge. It's not starting something from scratch, it's understanding that there's already a lot out there, but how do we filter it out, and how do we actually extract what is practical and what works? And then the barriers and initiative matrix, and that has to do with, the initiatives are there to remove the barriers. And so again, as I was saying, is if you're trying to remove some barrier for the 10th times and it didn't work, probably you should try a different approach. And so, to wrap up, understanding these three factors or areas, stakeholders, initiatives, and barriers, that's just to set the ground for the other guys then to pick up and to actually start influencing the landscape. So I'll pass on to Sebastiano, who will be leading on the phase 2.
Thank you. So this is it. Good morning to everyone. Thanks for being here. I'll try to explain what we have in the third working package in a few words, in a few minutes. This is a phase which is focused on a design, on the design of the subsequent phases. You know, I chose to pop up this one, which is Mount Cervino in Italy, which is deliberately the second highest mountain in Europe. I did not choose the highest one for optimistic reasons. But this is just to mean, as I view it, what's the very nature of this phase. You know, this working package starts on the basis, on the outcomes of the working package, which is led by the Czech GBC, which somehow can be viewed as a three-dimensional mapping of the building sector landscape along three dimensions, which are initiatives, barriers, and stakeholders, of course. Now we have to enter the design phase, which can be viewed as a tracing the route to the top along those dimensions, those three dimensions. You know, we have subdivided this macro phase in four main phases, subphases. The first one is identifying expertise. Once we have understood our landscape within the previous phase, working package number 2, we can identify the best expertise which can help leading part of workshops to address the barriers and to find how to overcome them in targeted markets, sectors, or realities. Then we are entering a design phase, which is focused on our 13th countries. We are going, in a few words, to collaboratively develop 13 series of 6 workshops per country, and each series is going to be a process in itself, just like a ladder, you know, a stair. And each workshop is going to profit the previous one, except the first, of course. We are going to work on the contents of the expertise together, finding the overlapping and the exchanges which can be made between countries. We are engaging the public administrations to understand their need for input from the stakeholders, and we are engaging the stakeholders, on the other hand, to know what they need from their PAs. So it's going to be a participative process. One thing more, which is very significant to us, those workshops are going to cover various levels, local levels, regional levels, and country levels, governmental, central levels. Once we've done that, we can pass to the next phase, which is design of EO workshops. This is scaling up, of course, in terms of barriers, of initiatives, and of stakeholders also. And we're going to, well, collect all those common patterns which are shared by all our realities to scale up to a European regional, this is a regional scale with 2 workshops. With this, we are going to reach 80 workshops in total. Finally, once we have designed that, we enter a phase which I'd like to call a design validation phase. We are going to enter a fine-tuning with one of our bodies, internal bodies, which is an advisory board, which represents and covers all Europe, all our countries, all policy areas, and all sectors of the stakeholders. to engage them in order to get strategical inputs to fine-tune our design to make it as effective as possible. Just a few words about the way we are trying to do that. You have already heard many interesting stories about that. We are trying to, and we have already done it partly, transfer knowledge from different other multi-stakeholder processes, methodologies and techniques which have been developed so far in other markets, other sectors, which has been used successfully all around the world. This is an innovation in terms of process. We think that this is one of the most significant occasions to bring such an innovation at a systematical level on such a large scale within the building sector. And finally, just to give you a quick glance of the complexities that you already know and we are dealing with and facing. This is just a rough mind map representing the impacting boundary conditions to be considered when we think about giving an answer to one main question, which is, can we predict success for the replication of best practices into a different context? How should we do that? What do you have to take into account? How do you define context? How do you define success, etc.? There are, a big bunch of conditions, as you see, but there aren't an unlimited number. Many of them are critical, many of them are relevant. We're going to work on that. This is just a work and tool to make it as simple as possible, and of course not too simple, to underline all common patterns which can be useful to address replication effectively. So this is it. Thank you very much for your attention.
I'm Pat Barry from the Irish Green Building Council. So now we move to the actual implementation of the workshops themselves. And I suppose the key thing we have to do first is make sure that we engage our stakeholders, that they actually come to the workshops with the right mindset. And part of that is making sure that they understand what it's about. It's not about an incremental improvement in what we're doing. It's about backcasting from a future vision of a high quality built environment that's nearly zero energy. So it's important to communicate that it's not just slight incremental improvement, that there's a really exciting vision, and they're coming with that mindset to the workshops. Because this is all about the participants co-creating this policy. We're not going to be hitting them with PowerPoints. They will be creating the policy. We're reaching about 1,000 stakeholders across Europe. So in each country, we will probably be looking at up to 60 to 70 to 100 stakeholders in each country. And this is about creating a community that continues. So we're creating a community, a collaborative community that will continue to work after this project. So they will continue, hopefully, to work together into the future to deliver our renovation process. What we will be learning to understand is how to deal with conflict amongst our stakeholders and work through a process that delivers a successful result. So thank you very much. So that's the next phase. I'll hand you over to Bengt Wanggren of the Swedish Green Building Council.
Thank you. The fourth part is the innovation incubator. there are many, many newly born ideas in the world out there, and some are yet to be innovated. We want to be the incubator for all of those, or many of those ideas. In this part of the project, we are creating also innovative ideas. And it is in these 4 areas: financial innovation, business model innovation, public sector innovation, and behavior innovation. So 18 out of the 24 months of this project, we will look for innovative ideas all around Europe and among you and others. Some of these ideas we already know of. Some we'll find, and of course some we will innovate ourselves. It's about letting our imagination free in some ways. I think we are in this group and in the Green Building Councils one of the world's best to find these innovative ideas, and also to be sort of sure enough and self-sure enough to make them happen. Let me give you an example. One of the ideas is in financing. Why shouldn't we use the future costs for social welfare, prisons, unemployment, to stop them from happening? Let's refurbish not just the buildings, the neighborhoods, but also the people in them. Let us give them a new start, and that'll save money to get the thing going. This is a pretty new idea, of course, and quite innovative, I'm sure. But let's try it. So with this part of the Build Upon project, we will create new possibilities. We will try to do things within this project, but also new funding for the GBC family. We don't know if this is going to be EU funding or other kinds of funding, but it might be sources that we don't know of yet. So it's about future projects as well, not just this project, what we want to do with what we do here and now. We want to do more. So after these 2 years, we hope there will be new ideas that we can continue working with these kind of family of green building councils. Thank you.
So 2 years to do an awful lot. And as I say, at the moment, it's a process to design a process. We're actually looking to drive a really very large-scale community and make this gesture. This was a gesture a colleague of ours made. He said, it's like having the world here. When you have it all in your head, it's all here, and it feels so heavy. And then suddenly making this gesture. Just holding out a platform where you, the people in the room, will provide the answer. It gets so much easier, it gets so much lighter, and that's what we're hoping to provide a process for over the next 2 years.